Class 6, welcome back to your online class. So we were discussing chapter digestive system, that is chapter 4, digestive system. In our previous class we already had an introductory class on what is digestive system, what are its parts, what is the role of digestive system, right? We had already started with the first part of digestive alimentary canal, that is mouth. We have already discussed the role of mouth and its other parts that's present in mouth, that is tongue, then you have teeth, right? Different types of teeth we have already discussed. Discussing about the other part that is present in a buccal cavity and has an important role in digestion, that is your salivary gland. Okay, now salivary gland is responsible for secretion of saliva. Okay, that fluid, liquid, sticky substance that is all the time present in your mouth, that's saliva. So it is secreted by your salivary gland. Salivary gland there are three major parts of a salivary gland or types. Those are your parotid gland, submandibular gland and sublingual gland. Among these, parotid gland is the largest salivary gland. Okay, now your parotid gland is present beneath your ear. I'll give you alongside the visual of where your parotid gland is present. It's present beneath the ear. Okay, and your submandibular gland, it is present in the lower jaw. Okay, near the below your tongue region. And same thing, your sublingual gland is also present just below the tongue. Okay, so all these three, the role of these glands is to secrete saliva. Now let us understand what is saliva. Now coming to the chemical nature of the saliva, saliva is slightly acidic because the pH of saliva is 6.8. Okay, so it's slightly acidic. Coming to the composition of saliva, saliva is made up of 99% water, then it has different salts, then mucus, that stickiness is because of mucus, then it has an enzyme called salivary amylase or also known as ptyalin. Okay, another term for salivary amylase. So your food digestion, that is breaking down of the complex food, starts here in the mouth itself. Okay, but here only your carbohydrate is broken down into the simpler form. Okay, so your salivary amylase converts your starch. As we know, starch is a carbohydrate, right, present in food, right? So it converts the starch, it's a polysaccharide, into maltose. Maltose is a disaccharide, right? It's made up of 2 glucose units. So it converts the starch into simpler form, that is maltose, and further in the other parts of your digestive system, maltose is then going to get converted into glucose so that it can be utilized by the cells of our body. Okay, so your salivary amylase, it converts your starch, okay, present in the food into maltose. Okay, so breakdown of starch here starts in the mouth itself. Okay, so other than this, what are the other function of the saliva? Other than the conversion of the starch into maltose, saliva also helps in moistening the food. Okay, since it's a fluidy substance, so it makes the food soft so that it can be easily swallowed. Okay. Other than that, what it also does is it kills if there is any foreign germs which has entered the body, then it even kills those foreign germs, thus keeping our mouth clean. Okay, and it also acts as a solvent for dissolving different kind of food particles. So these are the major function. Main function is softening of the food, conversion of the starch to the maltose. Okay, and it also does other accessory function like killing the germs or acting as a solvent for the food particles. Okay, so those were the function of the saliva. So that's all about your components of the buccal cavity. Now from mouth, the next part is your pharynx. Okay, now pharynx is a common passage for both food and air, and it's connected both to both nose as well as to the mouth. Okay, now pharynx, the upper part is responsible for passage of air, the middle one is for both air and food, and the lower one is only for the food. Okay, so your pharynx is a tube like structure, okay, which is like a passage for the movement of food or air from mouth and nose. Okay, now after pharynx comes your esophagus. Esophagus, it's a long tube connecting your mouth to the stomach. Okay, now the muscular wall of this esophagus, they contract and relax. Okay, that movement is referred to as peristalsis. Okay, so the contraction and relaxation of the esophagus wall leads to the movement of the food from your mouth to the stomach. Okay, so along your pharynx and esophagus, no digestion of the food occurs. Okay, now from esophagus, then you have stomach. Okay, now stomach, here the digestion of protein starts, and we will be going through the structure. It's a muscular pouch like structure, J-shaped. Okay, so we will be discussing about it in detail. Okay, so stomach is very important. You have to go through the function of the enzymes that's in stomach. What is the role of, since stomach has an acidic environment, so why is acidic environment essential in stomach? So we'll be discussing about all those. Okay, and now from the mouth, your food, which has softened, broken down into smaller particles. Some of the chemical components like starch has been converted into maltose, that goes into the esophagus, also referred to as food pipe. Okay, now keep one thing in mind, in your food pipe, that is esophagus, no digestion of the food occurs. No digestion means the complex components are not broken down into simpler components. Esophagus is just the pathway for the food to move from mouth into the stomach. Okay, so the walls of the esophagus by constricts and relaxes, that movement is known as peristalsis. Okay, so constrict, the walls of the esophagus constricts and relaxes, thus enabling the food to move from the mouth into the stomach. Okay, so here in this esophagus, no digestion of the food occurs. Now next you have stomach. Now we will be discussing about the stomach. Food moves to the stomach. Okay, where is stomach located? It is located below the diaphragm. Okay, it's an elastic pouch like structure which can hold about 2 to 3 liters of food. Okay, it can hold about 2 to 3 liters of food. Okay, now just if you go to the structure of the stomach, okay, the opening of the stomach, it has a valve like structure which is made up of sphincter muscle, and it is known as cardiac sphincter, which makes sure that after the food moves back to the moves from esophagus to the stomach, it does not reverse back or reverse flow. Okay, in order to prevent that, there is a valve like structure present in the opening of the stomach, that is known as cardiac, made up of sphincter muscle, or that's why it's referred to as a cardiac sphincter also. Now at the end of the stomach, to the opening of the intestine, there is also a valve like structure which is present and made up of sphincter muscle. It is known as, the end of the stomach is known as pylorus. That's why that valve like structure is known as pyloric sphincter. Okay, what does it makes sure that the food is completely churned, only then it moves to the intestine. Okay, while the digestion is taking place in the stomach, that particular valve closes, so that the food after incomplete working in small stomach, it does not go to the your small intestine, so that your food is completely churned in your stomach, only then it moves to the small intestine to make sure that wall closes. Okay, so your stomach, the inner lining or inner wall of the stomach secretes an important juice referred to as gastric juice. Now this gastric juice, it is highly acidic because of the presence of hydrochloric acid. Because of the presence of hydrochloric acid, this gastric juice is highly acidic, and it also has other components like salts, water. Okay, now what is and also has one of the enzyme referred to as pepsin. Okay, now coming to the function of the gastric juice, since it has hydrochloric acid, so what does it do is, your gastric juice, if there is any foreign particles that has entered any foreign germs that has entered along with the food, it is destroyed with the help of hydrochloric acid, because it's an acid, it is able to destroy anything, right? And the other function of a hydrochloric acid is, in gastric juice, the enzyme is present in the form of pepsinogen. It's an inactive form of an enzyme. Inactive form is converted into active form, that is pepsin, only in the presence of hydrochloric acid. Okay, and your pepsin is a protein digesting enzyme. So what is the function of the pepsin? It converts protein into peptides. Peptides means chain of amino acids. So it is breaking the protein fragments into smaller fragments. Protein into a smaller fragments, that is peptides. Still here the complete conversion of the complex component into the simpler has not occurred. Okay, your protein has to be converted into amino acid here. In stomach, digestion, protein digestion also starts. That means your protein is converted into peptides here in the stomach. Okay, so understood what about salivary gland, saliva, its function, and stomach, and what is the role of a gastric juice, right? Next class we will be discussing about the other components of a digestive system, that is small intestine and large intestine. And keep one thing in mind, till here, till stomach, the breakdown of the complex component, that is carbohydrate or your protein, fat digestion has not yet occurred, right? And whatever the starch that was converted into maltose, here protein is being converted into peptide. That means yet it has not been converted into the diffusible form, that is the form which is acceptable by the cell. So next part, that is small intestine, there the complete digestion of the food component occurs. Okay, so the next part, that small intestine, is the most important one. Okay, because here the complete digestion of the food occur, that is the complete digestion of the food into diffusible form, that is the one accepted by the cells, occur here in the small intestine. So small intestine, it's a coiled, folded, tube-like structure which is present in the abdomen region. Okay, so small intestine is about 7 meter long and 2.5 centimeter wide. Okay, now your small intestine can be divided into 3 regions. That is, the first upper region is known as duodenum, which is connected to the stomach. Then you have next region known as jejunum, and then you have ileum. It's in the ileum where the complete digestion of the food takes place. Okay, so your ileum has a finger-like projection, numerous finger-like projection known as villi, which aids in the absorption of the food. Okay, whatever the simpler food, the one which has been digested, diffusible form of the food is absorbed with the help of villi. Okay, and you have a numerous number of finger-like projection in the small intestine, because of which the absorption rate is also higher. Okay, it increases the surface area for absorption. And your small intestine, other than absorption of the food, it is supplied with two different types of digestive juices from the accessory gland, that is bile juice, which is produced in the liver, okay, and pancreatic juice, which is produced in the pancreas. So these are the digestive juices produced in the accessory gland like liver or pancreas, and then poured to the duodenum region of your small intestine. And this digestive juice has different kind of enzymes. Okay, bile, it does not have an enzyme. Its role is just to break down the large molecule of fats into the small molecule. Okay, and since your bile also has sodium carbonate, okay, so whatever the acidic food has come down from stomach, because stomach is filled with hydrochloric acid, so food becomes acidic. So in order to neutralize that food also, bile is used. Okay, and there is no presence of enzyme here, but pancreatic juice is loaded with different kind of enzymes which has a different role to play. Okay, which we will be discussing later. Okay, so first let us go through the structure of a villi. Since your villi, its role is to absorb the diffusible form of the food, the completely digested food from the intestine. So your villi is loaded with blood vessels, okay, and it also has a lymphatic vessel. Your blood vessel helps in absorption. Your villi is made up of just a single epithelial cell. Okay, that's what, but because of which the pores are present and the absorption becomes easier. Okay, so single epithelial cells and the glucose amino acid, which are smaller molecular structure, is absorbed by the blood vessel like arteries or veins, hepatic vein, and then different arteries that is present in the villi, and then transported to the liver. Okay, and fats or fatty acid or glycerol is absorbed by the lymphatic vessel, also known as lacteal. Okay, and later on poured into the bloodstream. So let us go through the structure of the villi. Okay, so this is the structure, a microscopic structure of an intestinal villus. Okay, just taking one villi. Okay, so you can see that this villus is made up of single epithelium cell, because of which, as you know, that in between the epithelium cell, the small pores will be present, because it's a single epithelium cell gap will be present in between the cell. And as you can see, the villus is loaded with the blood capillaries, like blood vessels like vein, artery, and capillaries, which helps in absorption of the diffusible form of food from the small intestine. And it also has a lymphatic duct known as lacteal, which helps in absorption of the fatty acid and glycerol. Now, in between the villi, there is the cells, the region of the cells that is present in between the villi and ileum secretes your intestinal juice, which consists of different kind of enzymes and their role, which we will be discussing now. Okay, so now let's discuss about the different enzymes that is present in pancreatic juice, right? So like I told you, pancreatic juice, it is produced by pancreas and has a different enzymes which helps in the digestion or conversion of the complex nutrients into the diffusible form, right? So the different enzymes are your amylopsin, trypsin, and stepsin. So amylopsin is also referred to as pancreatic amylase. Okay, the function of this is to convert whatever the leftover starch is present into your maltose. Okay, the starch is converted into maltose. The leftover starch is converted into maltose. As we know that the digestion of the starch or conversion of the starch already takes place in our mouth itself, right? Because saliva, it has salivary amylase which helps. So if there is any leftover starch, that is converted into maltose by amylopsin enzyme, which is present in pancreatic juice. So next we have trypsin. It's a protein digesting enzyme. So it breaks down the proteins into peptides or larger peptides into smaller peptides or into amino acids. Okay. Then you have steps in whatever the fats, the large molecule of fats has been broken down into smaller molecule by bile juice. Okay, the conversion of the smaller molecule of fats into fatty acid and glycerol is done by your stepsin. Okay, so those were the different enzymes which has a role to play in digestion of or conversion of the complex nutrients into the diffusible form. Okay, so we have discussed about the pancreatic juice. Next, like we discussed while discussing about the structure of villi, that in between the finger-like projection, that is villi, there is a the cells, the walls of those intestine in the ileum. It secretes intestinal juice, which is also a digestive juice, right? So let us discuss the enzymes present in intestinal juice. Those are your peptidase, also referred to as erepsin. Okay, the function of this is to convert the polypeptides or any peptides into the simpler form that which is usable by the cells of our body, that is amino acids. Okay, then you have maltose, maltase, which converts the maltose into glucose. Okay, then you have lactase, which converts your lactose into glucose and galactose. Okay, then you have sucrase, which converts your sucrose into fructose and glucose. Okay, then you have lipase, which converts the small molecules of fats into fatty acid and glycerol. So you have to know the function of each of the enzymes that is present in pancreatic juice, intestinal juice, gastric juice, or in case of what all then pancreatic juice, intestinal juice, gastric juice. So whatever the enzymes are there, you have to know its function. Okay, so you can go through table 11.1 where you are assigned with the different region of your alimentary canal. What are the secretion? What are the enzymes? Okay, and the nutrients upon which those enzymes act, and what happens after the enzyme, what is the product being formed. Okay, so you can go through table 11.1 which will give you the summary about everything related with your alimentary canal. Okay, so once the breakdown of the complete digestion of the food takes place, that means once the complex nutrient is converted into the simpler form, then the absorption, right? Absorption is taken place through the villi. Like I told you, villi is supplied with blood vessel. So your glucose, or if you have amino acid, they have a smaller molecular size. So it absorbed by the blood vessels of your villi, especially the hepatic portal vein will carry the glucose or amino acid to the liver. Okay, where if there is excess, it is stored in the form, glucose is stored in the form of glycogen, and amino acid after it is being utilized by the body, excess it cannot be stored, so it is broken down. The nitrogen part is converted into urea and then excreted out of our body, whereas the rest part is converted into the glucose. Okay, and you have fatty acid and glycerol, which is taken up by the lymphatic vessel, also known as lacteal. Okay, and then later on poured on to the bloodstream. Okay, so that's all about the small intestine. Now next part is your large intestine. Okay, large intestine has three regions. Those are your cecum, colon, and rectum. Cecum is present on the junction of a small intestine and large intestine. The first part of large intestine is a cecum. Okay, it's a pouch-like structure, and from that small portion arises, a small part, worm-like structure arises, that is known as appendix. So whenever this structure, the function of this is unknown, the function of appendix is unknown, it is considered to be useless. Okay, it doesn't have any role to play in our body, but the inflammation of this appendix will lead to a disease known as appendicitis. Okay, then the next region, the larger region, is your colon. Then you have rectum, through which the undigested food passes out. Okay, then so in your large intestine, the digestion of the food will not occur. Only the water will be absorbed from whatever the undigested food has been passed out from small intestine to the large intestine. If there is excess water present in those foods, undigested food, then it will be absorbed back by the large intestine, and then it will be, the undigested food will be removed out of our body. No digestion, no conversion into simpler form takes place in the large intestine. Okay, so that's all about the alimentary canal. We have discussed about the different parts and its function. We have covered alimentary canal, associated digestive glands, okay, like role of liver, role of pancreas, role of salivary glands. Those are associated digestive glands. So we have discussed its role in detail, okay, and how the absorption takes place. Now next we are left with just two topics, that is indigestion. What is indigestion? Indigestion, you can directly relate it to the upset stomach. Upset stomach is referred to as indigestion. Okay, and when does the does this occur? Indigestion occur if your eating habits are not healthy. If you are taking too oily food, or if you are skipping breakfast, okay, or you are not eating in a proper way, that leads to indigestion or upset of stomach. Okay, so what are the symptoms? How will you know that you have this particular problem? Okay, so symptoms are, first, you will get a burning sensation in the stomach. Okay, you will feel like vomiting. Some of them even might have a abdominal pain. Okay, you feel dizzy. You get a bitter taste on the mouth. So these are and you don't feel like eating. Sometimes you feel full, even though you have not eaten for a long period of time, but you feel full, bloated. Your stomach feels bloated. Okay, so these are the symptoms of indigestion. So like I told you, your indigestion is directly related to unhealthy eating habits. Okay, so what are the unhealthy eating habits? First, some of us wake up late in the morning, so we rush to our work or we rush to school, skipping the breakfast, and breakfast is the main meal. Okay, main meal of the day. So we should not skip breakfast. Okay, breakfast we should take in ample amount. Okay, so skipping meal is also an unhealthy habit. Then next one, eating out. That means not eating at your home, eating at the roadside vendor or going to the restaurant all the time. Okay, there you do not know what kind of oil they are cooking that particular food item in, what kind of food they are, what kind of vegetable they are getting from the market. So sometimes they even can provide you with the stale food. Okay, so that will lead to also indigestion of the food, and eating lots of junk food. Okay, because we all love munching into junk food, but regular munching will lead to indigestion problem. Okay, so we should restrict ourselves from eating junk food all the time. Then other is one of the very good habit. If you are going for a packet food, you should always look at the nutritional level of that packet food items. Behind the packet, you will see in a table form the nutritional level, like how much carbohydrate is present, what amount of protein is present, what amount of fat is present, what amount of cholesterol is present. Even if you get chips, just behind it you will find the table where they will give you a nutritional level. So it's a good habit to go through the nutritional level before choosing any packet food items. Okay, so if you are skipping the reading all this and just for the sake of taste, if you munch on the packet food items without going through the nutritional level, that will also lead to the indigestion problem, because without knowing you will be eating so much packaged food which consists of lots of fats or lots of unwanted fats. Okay, lots of cholesterol, calories, food items, that will also lead to indigestion. Okay, so that's all about this chapter. It's a bit lengthy chapter. Okay, that's why go through each and every paragraph or contents that's given in this chapter, because this chapter is in exam later on in your higher classes also you will require this particular chapter. So go through each and every line that's given in your book. Okay, so that's all for today. That's all about this chapter. If you have any queries, you can always contact. Next, I'll follow it up with the question and answer from this particular chapter. Okay, then we are done with the syllabus for 4th unit test. Okay, thank you.